Well, hello everybody, this is DearMamaSal, and it is a very warm 8 degrees here in southern British Columbia in Canada, and that would make it 46 degrees in Washington State. Now, the reason I'm saying it that way is because I had a comment come in from one of the viewers, and I'm very grateful for it, because they said that it's not necessarily true that the temperatures I'm giving are correct across all of Canada or across all of the states. So, fair comment, and like all things in life, it's a really good idea if somebody gives you a bit of feedback. The first thing you do is to go, the first reaction you have is, oh. And then the second one is it true? Yep, it's true. And then the third reaction is, do I want to change what I'm doing? Alright, because that's a choice. You remember we always say that everything that we do is a choice. And so, it was actually Marin, I think, that made the comment, and I really do appreciate it, because it's very true that I've always just said, it's this temperature here in Canada, and therefore it's this temperature down in the States. Now, obviously, for those of you who are subscribers, you all know where I live, give or take. And you also know that when I speak about the States, you know that I mean south of where I am, like 10 minutes down the road. And I should explain that, the regular viewers do know that I live very close to the border, therefore that's why I give it in both official temperatures. But it's a very valid point, and I'll have to find the right words around it. It might take me a couple of days, but I will find the right words around it, and we'll see how that goes. So it was amazing, and I just went, oh yeah, I guess. A couple of bits of feedback. I got some interesting feedback that Princess is not the only dog with allergies. Apparently, Jenny Jen's Kuru also has allergies. And so here, as I keep saying, the things I learn here at DearMamaSal, it's just amazing to me that, literally the things that I learn. And I really didn't know until this week that dogs had allergies, and that they could be so serious. Which of course immediately has me thinking, did I miss any in any of my dogs? And I presume not, because I presume if they'd had serious allergies, I would have found out about it pretty quickly. So, but interesting stuff all the same. For those of you who like the color of the lipstick today, it's the Kate Moss, and I think it is the number 10. I'm trying to get it out of my pocket. Just hold on a second. It's actually a very pretty color. 110. We knew it was one of the two, right? Because we bought 10 and 110. So this is 110 by Kate Moss. Now, I'm pretty sure that it transfers pretty well from my experience with the other one. But it'll be interesting to see. Now, what I've done is I've actually put on that lip liner that goes on the outside of the lips, not on the lips itself. It's on the outside of the lips to see whether it stops the bleed that I had from the Kate Moss number 10. and I'll be trying that again very soon this week. I'm a little bit concerned because I don't know if I told you guys, I might have done. I bought a couple of quite expensive lipsticks, 2-part lipsticks, and they were meant to last a lot longer. I'm not finding that they are. But before I judge them too harshly, because quite honestly they stayed on less time than my Flipstick. So before I judge them too harshly, what I'm going to do is to go back to the retailer and just have that discussion and see, okay, is it by any chance the way I'm putting it on? Is it user error? And I know that a couple of you have given me some really good hints on what I might do to make it all last longer, but the point was this stuff was meant to last longer on its own. Yeah, not without fancy tricks and goodness knows what else. So that's what I'm going to be looking at. In the meantime, even with the couple of things that I noticed with the other Kate Moss, this one is I think I wore the two together last time. I'm going to sneeze. Oh, excuse me. Once a wish. Nice. Where did I get sneezes from? Maybe you got allergies. In trying to do that quietly, I think I nearly ruptured my throat. Do you even know what I'm saying? I really did try to contain that and not make a terrible noise on camera. And I think somewhere in there I nearly ruptured my throat. How stupid am I? All right, don't answer that. Do not answer that. Okay, so we were talking a bit yesterday about honesty, and I had a couple of people write back to me on that, which is, that and I think Jenny Jen this morning said to me that she believes that honesty is the secret to everything, whether it's a relationship at work, with another human being, with a friend, in a romantic relationship. Honesty is the basis of everything. And then I started to think about, how honest had I been in my relationships? And I really would have to say not too honest. I'm getting to see that. I was so desperate for a relationship, I'd put up with almost anything. I don't know if any of you relate to that. It was just like, okay, fine. If you'd be kind enough to go out with me and, or if you'd be kind enough to marry me. I think that was my thinking. I have changed. I have changed. And I wasn't very proud of myself in some ways yesterday when I came home and I looked at my roommate and said, okay, I've been gone for 10 hours. What did you do in 10 hours? But I honestly did want to know. And then I got angry. And I wasn't. I couldn't believe that in 10 hours that was all that a human being had managed to do. But that's my honest opinion. Does that make me judgmental? Yeah. And I really fight that one. And so I wanted to ask you guys whether any of you fight this particular battle. You know, I grew up in a very strong Christian ethic. About as close to Roman Catholic as you could get. It was high Anglican, for those of you who know what that is. And I went to a convent as a kid, and I stayed at the convent throughout my whole life. In other words, I was trained and taught by the nuns for the whole of my school education. And therefore I also got seriously indoctrinated in their beliefs. And one of the conversations I have regularly is that I really struggle with some of the doctrine. And I wonder whether anybody else out there has the same problem. Now, the one I want to discuss, because it affects my life so much, is the one about turn the other cheek. And I closely want to relate that to unconditional love. So part of what I am aware of, that a lot of my dilemmas in life have come from the combination of those three issues. Number one, telling the truth. Number two, turn the other cheek. And number three, unconditional love. Because I don't see how you can do all of those and meet all 3 points. And the reason I can't see that is because of my indoctrination. So, and I know that that probably means I totally misunderstand the scriptures and whatever else, and I'm sure that a lot of you will help me on understanding this better. But I do have great problems with that. And I think a lot of the reason, for example, that a lot of women end up in problems is because they are not taught to tell the truth in their relationships. In other words, he really does love me even though he beats me. And because they don't get to talk their own truth, like that scares the living bejesus out of me, because they can't own their own truth in this issue, is why they put up with it. So I look at it and go, I still have lots of learning around this one. Because that part of me that wants to give unconditional love has a problem when it crosses the boundary of either abuse or people using me. And I find it very difficult to balance the doctrine that I grew up with and my reality today. So today, I have had, one of the things I've learned in maturity is this is not okay. And I think maybe what wasn't okay was the way that I was taught it. I'm not saying that the scripture was wrong. I'm saying that I think the way that I was taught it, or, God forbid, the way that I understood what I was taught was in error. The same as I really can see that a lot of my behaviors in my youth and my childhood, but my teens and early life, revolved around this turn the other cheek issue. And I got really badly hurt, mentally, sometimes physically, because of these issues. And I don't think I'm probably the only one. So now I have to ask the question, is there any, I mean, I don't know this to be true in any way, but I'm wondering if there's any correlation between, this, let me try and explain this. The same as when I went to help in the prison system, I was horrified to find out that the majority of the women in prison had been abused in some way. You don't get to ask that question, but if you listen carefully enough, you get to know it. And so then I have to ask myself, is there any correlation between our upbringing in terms of our faith and our understanding of what is okay or not okay? And I can hear some of you jumping up and down saying, Sal, no, that's not true, because I grew up in very strong faith, and I was taught to value myself. And in which case I go, okay, so that was from your parents. And that's sort of brings up a whole nother issue, doesn't it? So I just thought it was worth us having a little chat about that. I don't think I have all the answers at all. I just have lots of questions that I'm interested to know whether any of you have similar experiences or have any answers. I'm not sure where this will lead us to, but it'll be interesting to take this little journey. I must believe that we need to talk about it because it came up. And as you know, I'm a great believer in going where life leads me, sort of thing. So if this question is coming up for me, then maybe it's also coming up for other people. And so just in exploring it, whether you have the issues or not, it's really important that we get the feedback, because from the one side we're going to hear the issues, but hopefully from the other side we'll hear why people haven't got the issues. And that will help us all learn. Be interesting. I'm looking forward to that. So, in terms of the honesty factor, how many of you, and you don't have to necessarily talk about this, but how many of you going, I need to be a little bit more honest? We had a situation at work yesterday where somebody left. And that was a bit of a shock to me, because I had no idea there was an issue going on. I sit in the back room and behave myself. But it was interesting because that person was honest with themselves and realized that they were not happy. Now, the fact that they were not happy does not make the company a bad company. Do you guys understand where I'm coming from on that one? It means that fit was not the best fit for that person, due to maybe their emotional intelligence or whatever their makeup was versus what the emotional intelligence of the job required. And so I think it takes great courage to be able to say, okay, fine, this doesn't work for me. And not necessarily blame the company. It maybe is that, we've had different people, and I've sometimes seen senior people who just couldn't handle the stress of what we do. And I think that is a very interesting part of life, is, are you in a job that is way too stressful for your personality, your natural personality, or for your coping mechanisms. And I think there are a lot of people, I mean, I think that's where we get into the square peg in a round hole situation, where people are in totally the wrong sort of job for their psyche, for their soul even. But it pays the bills. And what happens is they pay the price. And so does everybody else, by the way. You know what I mean? The people around you also pay the price. So have a look at that side of the honesty factor as well, which is, you know, if you can look at it and say, okay, fine, I just didn't have the wherewithal to hack this type of job. That's okay. It doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make you a loser. It doesn't make you a nobody. It just means that this environment doesn't suit my personality. Maybe this type of job doesn't. Even if you studied for it, trained for it, you know, haven't got any experience in anything else, maybe it is the wrong type of job. And so let's have a good look. Now, a lot of the viewers are not working. So I would ask you to have a look honestly about your life and about things that are going on in your life, and go, how honest are you being about those things? Now, again, it doesn't make you a good or bad person. Because what we're always looking for is improvement. I cannot believe it. I actually have tons of parking space. You know I never have tons of parking space. Alright, peeps. So be honest today. Have a fun day. And did I tell you you're looking great? This is Dear Mama Sal saying bye-bye.